Should our teachers have a license to not only teach, but to carry a gun? That's our topic of discussion on NewsNite. Next. Good evening. This is NewsNite for January 11th, 2013. I'm Jody Miller. It's a sad commentary on the state of affairs in our society that we are even going to have the discussion we are going to have now. But given what happened at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, just a couple of weeks ago, we are now talking collectively, nationally and locally, about the potential of arming teachers as a way of protecting the children in our schools. It's a discussion I wish we wouldn't have to have, but I've invited three panelists to our show this evening to give their individual perspectives about whether, in fact, the way to go is to arm our teachers, to give, as the NRA says, the good guys the guns. Joining us tonight, I want to welcome Randy Boroff, who is the superintendent of Revere Local Schools, and he's also the current president of the Buckeye Association of School Administrators. I want to welcome Carrie Evans, who is a third-grade teacher at Leggett Elementary School in Akron. She is also a concealed carry holder and married to an Akron policeman. And I want to welcome Bill Holland, who is here. He is Inspector Bill Holland. He is here from the Summit County Sheriff's Office. So thank you, the three of you, for being here. Like I said, it's a conversation I wish we didn't have to have, but I want to jump right in. Should we, in fact, be arming the teachers and the administrators in our schools to protect our kids?
Well, I'll start off, and since I'm closest to you, I think it's a really bad idea. I think that we can, in my mind, we can train somebody to shoot, but we can't train our staff enough about when to shoot. And I think that the issues and the concern that I have is the uncontrolled atmosphere that it would create in school, and an environment that, in my mind, is not healthy for children. And as teachers, we are to nurture and protect and to teach, not to have guns in our pockets or holsters.
Carrie, how about you?
I would have to agree that teachers and administrators alike, they're not trained to carry weapons. Even being a CCW holder, the purpose for that, for me, would be to protect myself, not to protect children. In circumstances of chaos, I can't say myself how I would react, and I think that even if you feel as if you think you would know, that you would be the type of person who would want to protect your students, and you always want to be that hero. You think that you watch things like Sandy Hook on television and you think, if I could just have my gun, I would protect those kids to the nth degree, and you think that you could do that. In situations of chaos, you don't know how you would react, and the liability that comes with having your weapon in a school is just something that I don't think school districts want to deal with. It's the training that has to come with that is something that I'm not sure is a good idea for school districts to have to deal with.
Bill, how about you? Do you think we should be arming teachers to protect children in our schools?
There's pros and cons to this. The pro would be these school shootings, they evolve very quickly, and there's no predicting them a lot of times. So if as soon as the threat is confronted, the sooner the better. So if there was an armed teacher, that'd be good that there'd be someone there to confront the shooter quickly. There are several disadvantages, however. Like both of these folks said, training is an issue. Law enforcement trains constantly with firearms, use of force, the law, knowledge of the law, shoot, don't shoot scenarios, even the muscle memory and fine motor skills that come with firing a weapon. That takes practice, and it's not something when you get hired as a law enforcement officer, you stop. You continue through the rest. If you're a pro golfer, they continue to practice their entire career. So that's an issue. Not to mention, the forefront of your mind always has to be firearm safety. And if you're going to be around small children at all times and there's a firearm present, knowledge and functionality of the firearm, and kids are curious, so they're gonna, their eyes. Anytime, if you go into a school and give a talk, and these folks have probably seen it, their eyes go right to that gun if there's an officer in uniform. So they're going to be distracted by it, and there's several disadvantages to it.
Okay. If I can interject, I think one of the most important things that was said is that one of the biggest, I think, advantages, would be that there is someone there to be a first responder, because it is very important that someone's there right away. And I think that is what's most important, is that we have someone in the school at all times that is armed. I think that uniformed armed people are essential. And as a teacher, I would feel so much more safe with a uniformed armed person in the school. Ununiformed, myself, if I was carrying a weapon, I wouldn't feel safe that way for one main reason, because we all know that being there is important, because first responders, average time, 6 minutes maybe to get there? Okay, maybe less, but we're going to go with about 6. Okay, about 6 minutes to get there, right? That's a lot of time for a shooter. And they need 3 things to happen, right? They have to find the shooter. Okay, so basically find out who it is, secure them, and then the problem with, if it was me with a gun, who's to say that they're not going to start shooting me?
Well, exactly. And they know you weren't the perpetrator.
Right, and that's where the uniformed armed guards are much safer having the weapons than people like teachers and administrators, because you walk into a school building and you have armed people everywhere, then who's the shooter? And then you have teachers and administrators being shot because you're not really sure who your shooter is. And so, that's where it becomes a huge liability, because it's like, that takes time, and you're just adding more time to your response then.
Exactly. So is this... Is what I'm hearing here that we should have armed guards in every school, Randy?
Yeah, it's a hard conversation, because our facilities were not built to be lockdown facilities. We're supposed to be welcoming. We're supposed to be gracious to our visitors. We want our community to come into the schools. I think that right now there needs to be some semblance of protection so that everybody feels good. I don't know if we need it all the time. Random, regular visits by our local police department, I think it is good, because think about a high school setting. An elementary school is one thing. A high school is almost a 24/7 facility, between your evening basketball games, your athletic events, your football games on Friday nights, Saturday activities, Sunday open gyms. In a high school or middle school setting, it's a much different animal than an elementary school during the school day. The other thing I fear is you mentioned the chaos. I really agree with that, because some student brings a gun to school, even a fake gun, and takes that gun out. Are we going to start drawing? And I think that it's such a difficult question. But I think that we have to look at our security, and we have to ramp that up now. It's going to be different. It has to be.
Schools are... Let's talk about funding for a minute, okay? And that the schools getting funding is like getting blood from a turnip now. Who would pay for the armed guards? Would the schools be responsible to pay for the armed guards? Would the sheriff's office be responsible to put an armed sheriff's deputy in each of the schools? How would we pay for something like that?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, as a parent, as a mother, if someone were to ask me what my most valuable asset in the whole entire world was, I would say it was my children. And if there was one thing in the world I couldn't possibly replace, it's my 2 kids. And if there was one thing one levy I'd pass, one thing I'd pay for, hands down on taxes, it'd be to protect my kids. You know, we protect our government buildings. My golly, we protect the honey bake ham. You know, I mean, it's like...
I think that's more for parking, but...
you know, regardless of the situation, you know, we put officers in places for certain situations, and we really have to prioritize why, you know, what is really valuable. And for me, you know, the one thing I can't replace are my children. And so, you know, we have to take those activities and athletics and things that we have in school, and, you know, I know it's hard to hear, but, you know, our president has stood up and said we have to do something, and this is one thing we have to do. And teachers feel safer, and parents feel safer, children feel safer when they feel protected. And I know that schools should feel welcoming and things like that, but let's be honest, these things are happening in suburban schools with very low crime because these shooters feel like they can walk into schools where they don't feel a threat. They don't feel threatened by anybody retaliating on them, and there's, you know, a longer response time, and they have no accountability, so they can, you know, be suicidal before anybody gets to them. So,
Bill?
Well, I'll piggyback on what she said. I totally agree. The value of having a school resource officer, you can't really put a price tag on it for a couple of reasons. One, you know, as kids grow up, and a lot of people are guilty of this, if you walk in a movie theater and there's an officer there, if the child starts causing a ruckus, it's the first instinct, you better behave or I'm going to give you to that officer. So people start training their children at a young age that, you know, look out for the police. Well, if there's an officer in the school and they build a relationship with that officer, which a lot of times happen, they get a good feeling towards law enforcement. If they come out of there with nothing else from the officer other than, you know what, the police are someone you trust and someone you go to with a problem. That's important to have in a community, the trust issue with law enforcement. So that's built at a young age. Secondly, having that officer there, they get a lot of intelligence in the school, and there's been several school shootings where people knew that the shooting was going to happen, and that officer will be told things. And we had a situation in Greene last year where there were threats made to school officials, and our school resource officer found out about it, and we were able to thwart that scare. So, you know, they're very valuable because a lot of information comes and goes through that school resource officer. So, and if they're there, obviously, you know, one of the biggest factors is that they can respond quickly and neutralize that situation.
Well, I want you to know that you can weigh in on our discussion at www.newsnight.net. That website has archived programs and has blogs and other information, and we encourage you to join in on this discussion and let us know your thoughts.
For more NewsNight content, including extended discussions, full interviews, and the chance to speak your mind about the issues, join us online at newsnight.net.
We are back and continuing our discussion on guns in schools and should we in fact be arming our teachers. And I wanted to dovetail on something that Bill was mentioning, and that was we were talking about armed guards in schools and how in fact we would, you know, as much as they might be a good resource, you know, how would we pay for those? I can't imagine the sheriff's department has the funding sources to put a sheriff's deputy in each of the school buildings.
Well, with the budget cuts over the last 4 or 5 years, we had layoffs, so we're stretched pretty thin as it is. So, you know, we don't have extra deputies just roaming around. So funding is an issue. Not that you can put a price tag on safety, but, you know, we don't, like, it should be a group effort among all aspects of the community. And there are some things that we can do with no cost that we need to continue to do, even after, you know, there's a big media push with everything that's been going on, and it's important that after all the media dies down from this, that we stay with it and don't just move on to the next topic. You know, it's training, not only training for law enforcement, that we train with the schools, every aspect of the schools, the layout of the schools, what to do in an active shooter situation. That's very important. Town hall meetings with the parents. What to look out for if a child becomes obsessed with death and firearms, to bring that to someone's attention. Don't just think it's a phase they're going through. Things like that are very important that we need to stay on top of and not get lax.
Randy, you were talking about funding.
Yeah, funding is a difficult issue for sure, and I think if we can share that expense and make this a community effort, and so all entities contribute to the safety of our students, and because it's not our students, it's the community's children. that happen to be our students. So I think that shared opportunity is a great way to provide that the safety forces. The other thing I had mentioned was volunteers. And we have many citizens in our community and in communities all over the state that have served in the armed forces, that might be veterans, that may be looking to volunteer in our schools. And again, it's another set of eyes and ears throughout our buildings. And combine that with an officer, a school resource officer, and I think you have a nice shared process to make sure everyone's safe.
Who is it who makes the decision to put or to allow teachers to carry a gun in a school? Is that a superintendent's decision? Is that a school board decision? Is that a community decision?
Well, actually, the school districts and school facilities are weapon-free zones. So there's
nationally,
there's a state law in Ohio,
okay,
anyway, that I could tell you that you can't. The only people that can have firearms right now are law enforcement officers.
Okay.
So right now it's against state law.
Okay. What more can be done to protect our students? I mean, at one point, Bill, you talked about different designs for buildings and having protocols in place. You know, okay, if we don't want to arm our teachers, if we do come up with some kind of funding mechanism where we can have an armed guard who unfortunate as that may be, would be there, you know, what else can we do to protect our kids? Because that's key here, right? That's what we're talking about.
That's the most important thing. I mean, the safety of the children, physical security, anything, because as I mentioned earlier, these events evolve very quickly, and the goal of a lot of these shooters is to kill as many people in a short amount of time. So the amount of time you can stall somebody or stop them and allow law enforcement to get there, the better. So that's one of the key, in just training with each other. And it's not a law enforcement issue, it's not a school issue, it's not a community issue, it's everybody working together. And we just need to make sure that we continue to work together on this issue.
I was just going to say too, I definitely think it's a collaborative effort between all of the community. But I was also going to say that for so many years, we've trained as teachers to do lockdown procedures, which we have found have failed us over and over again. And I think it's really important that as many teachers as possible get the current training. We've been currently training in ALICE, which is a much better training procedure that we have found, so that teachers are up to date on how to, in an active shooting situation, to better protect themselves, to not be, basically like sitting ducks and just wait to be shot and killed, to actually fight back. And when someone's coming after you, you don't just basically just sit and wait to die. I mean, you fight for your life.
And that's what Alice teaches people.
Right. Mm-hmm. Fight for your life. I mean, you counter. You don't just sit there, and we don't lock down, the whole entire building. We lock down the people that are closest to the shooter, and we try to get everybody else out as much as possible, and we keep everybody informed. But for so many years, we've taught kids to just put your heads down, get under desks, and just sit. And active shooters have actually trained themselves to shoot at sitting targets, and it's scary because that's what we've taught our kids to do, is get under desks and hide. And so if we can train teachers and make them very knowledgeable about teach those kids to throw everything they possibly can, to distract, spread out, get away, but don't hide and wait, to be murdered. That's a bad idea. And for everybody to learn those things, they're very important. So
the other piece that's really important, something that we talk about, is everybody has eyes and ears. And we need all our teachers, all our students to be aware, all our parents to be aware of what people are talking about. It's my experience that usually when something bad happens, somebody knew or heard about, somebody was talking about something. Mm-hmm. And I think along with all these security, processes, with all the police, everybody has to be aware of what people are saying and not be afraid to tell another adult. Sure. So that we could stop that, whether it be bullying, whether it be, threats, whether it be, thoughts of death, and et cetera. I think that's another piece to the puzzle.
I totally agree with Randy. In my opinion, there's not as many secrets as there used to be with social networking now. People want to post everything they're doing on Facebook and Twitter, and friends are all friends with each other, and it's important to get to the parents that you need to know what your children, not saying you need to spy and be James Bond on the internet, but you need to have that open line of communication with them and know what's going on. And if you do hear of a threat, take every threat seriously. Even if it turns out to be nothing, let law enforcement determine that it's nothing. That needs to be reported and looked into, because you never know which threat is going to come to fruition.
Randy, how about you? You're the president of the Buckeye Association of School Administrators. Are you hearing what other superintendents are saying about this kind of issue and what their thoughts may be?
Well, the thoughts of everyone is great concern. I mean, everybody is concerned about this because, again, as I said earlier, our facilities were not meant to be lockdown facilities. So everybody is trying to figure out the best way to secure the buildings, to create processes that, will control who comes in and out of the buildings.
Because I know you've got, once the kids are in the building doors are locked.
Yes. You've
got closed-circuit TV cameras that, you have to push a buzzer in order to even come in and to get to the office. So is that the kind of thing that more schools have to have?
Yeah, well, I think most schools have that in place right now.
Yeah.
So that the access is not as free and easy as it used to be. But people are talking about, do we put police in the schools? How do we do that? When are they?
The question that I have is wouldn't it be more fiscally responsible? Because I think that police are needed more in the inner city because the crime is, we have more internal problems where the police are needed more in inner city because they have arrest power. And they're needed there because we need them for arrest purposes in middle and high school. We don't even have them in the elementary schools because we don't feel they're needed in elementary schools because they're in there because they're needed for arrest purposes. And you'll hear from suburban districts, well, we don't really need police in the schools because we don't have that much crime. And so they have liaisons, which is fine because they call them when they're needed. And we have them in the inner city because we need them, for arrest purposes. So that's why to have some people in the schools that would be there uniformed with weapons, who may not be officers but more like security people, to be there for only security purposes, not to arrest students, but they're just to be there for security.
Another layer of defense, maybe?
First responder.
First responder?
There for purposes of securing the premises. That's it.
Okay.
Uniformed, therefore, someone comes into the building and threatens the property, they're the first responder.
Were any of you surprised? I know that the Buckeye Firearms Association, the NRA group in Ohio, offered free teacher training. A course that I think is worth like $1,000 to teachers, and the response was unbelievable. Did that surprise any of you?
No, I think that would be a first reaction for some people. And I don't know if they took advantage of that because they felt that they were going to be safer in school, or it was something to do and added skill. I think that. I think it's natural for us to react in a certain way when such a tragedy occurs. And so I don't think I was, I would say that I was surprised. I don't know what they thought they were going to do with it after they were trained, because right now you can't go into school packing.
I think people have such a fear after something like that. I think some teachers are actually afraid to go back to school, and it's not that they can take their weapon with them into the building, but I think that some teachers just have that fear, and so they may feel more secure with it. So
we're running out of time, so I want to ask each of you kind of a two-part question. What have we learned from the Sandy Hook tragedy, and where do we go from here? Bill?
Well, school shootings are not a new topic. They've been going on for years, hundreds of years. But what you learn from every incident. You know, in law enforcement, everything that happens is a learning experience. You never, from the day you get out of the academy to the day you retire, you never stop learning. Or you shouldn't, anyway. So from this, I guess, communication is key. Whether it be you teach Alice or whatever you teach, you need to communicate and you need to work with your schools so that everybody's on, for lack of a better word, on the same sheet of music and everybody's working together. The law enforcement is familiar with the layout of the school. The school officials know who should and should not be in that school. Policies and procedures are being followed, and just you know, train the way you're going to play. I mean, that's the way we train. The way if something goes down, that's the way we operate. You know, muscle memory, and that's the way we do that. And you know, we continue to work with our schools, and hopefully everybody, you know, it's like I said, it's just not a new thing. It's kind of going forward.
Carrie?
I think we've learned that our schools aren't safe enough. They're not secure enough, and I think that we should have armed school protection in every building, and whether that be police officers with arrest power or security officers without that, because it's more fiscally responsible, if you ask me, because it's not as expensive, then that's the direction we go.
Randy, you get the last word.
You know, nothing is for sure, and you need to be prepared for the unexpected at all times. And I think all of us that are in a school facility need to be much more aware of what's happening. It's easy to come into school and go into your classroom, close the door, and teach all day, but the awareness that that something could happen at any time is something that we need to improve upon. And again, I go back to the communication is a great thing. I think, you know, we can learn a lot about children, a lot about what's happening at home if we keep our ears and our eyes open and hopefully stop it before it gets to the point that happened in Sandy Hook.
Well, I want to thank the three of you for coming on, for sharing your perspectives. I think this is a conversation we're going to be having in a lot of school districts and a lot of homes in the foreseeable future. So thank you all for joining us. And thank you for being here on NewsNite. Good night.